The video I'm about to play you, to me, is absolutely massive. It is. It's not going to lead to a political earthquake. This is the political earthquake. And if things go the way I think they're going to go, then the political landscape of the United Kingdom will never be the same again. Watch this video.
What political option do we have in the UK? That's the question, yeah? And most people would say reform. Unfortunately, I don't see Nigel Farage as an option. I see Nigel Farage's speeches about preparing ourselves for the 2050 demographical change of Islamic community in this country, and then we have to make peace with Islam. Okay? We don't. We need to stop that. That's my opinion. So as I look and I look at what political options there were, because I'm politically homeless. There's no political party that I support. So as I'm looking, I then saw Ben Habib. I like Ben Habib. I've watched him for many years. I believe he's loyal and principled, and he's continually stood up for democracy and free speech. He stood up for me at times, but then when I sat and looked and I saw Howard Cox, many people stood up for me in reform. They didn't know me, they didn't personally know me, but they stood up for free speech and stood up for some of the work I've done highlighting Islamic extremist rape gangs, yeah? And they lost their position. They were kicked out of reform. Howard Cox was kicked out. Many people were kicked out. If you speak against Islam, you're kicked out of reform. If you speak against transgenderism, you were kicked out of reform. How can you have a political party that we believe is going to solve our problems that doesn't even believe in free speech? You can't. And do you know what Nigel Farage currently does? He laughs. Do you know why he laughs? Because if you don't like Labour and you don't like Conservatives, who are you going to vote for? If you're fed up and want to stop the votes and stop all these things, who are you going to vote for? There's no other option but him. So he doesn't care. He's even sitting there. He laughed about Rupert Lowe. He laughed about Ben Habib. You're irrelevant, all of you, because he knows there's no other party. Yeah. So I know some people will be upset with this, some reform supporters, reform members. Unfortunately, Nigel needs a shock, and he needs to realise that there is another political option other than reform. And I see that as Ben Habib. I see that as Advance UK. I'm today joining Advance as a member. I've told many people I don't want to be in politics. I don't want to be a politician. I want to run a cultural movement. I want to do my journalism. That's what I've always wanted to do. But I want there to be a political option for the movement. And I hope that would have been Nigel. You saw the appeals I made to reform. Please stop lying about us. Please stop. Just stop. Be the political party for the country. Be the political party that will stop immigration, that will do mass deportations. But time and time again, Nigel's told us he's not going to do mass deportations. He doesn't care about the demographical change to our country. All the things you think he represents, he no longer does. He's bringing in the left. He's going to be more left-wing than Conservatives. Well, that's not what this country needs. Every other country in Europe has a populist leader who's speaking for the people. We don't, unfortunately. So I am joining Advance UK. I'd advise you to join Advance UK. Hopefully, if their membership soars, I think our movement of free speech and our movement needs a political home. And I'm sorry, it's not Nigel Farage, it's not reform. And that is why I'm showing loyalty to Howard Cox, loyalty to all the councillors that resigned from Reform UK because of the lies Nigel told. He told lies about me. How can the man who's going to govern our country, he stood on TV and said, I have convictions of violence against women. He's never apologised for it. He just made it up. He has parried and attacked with the establishment lies time and time again. I'm upset by it, but I do see Ben Habib and Advance UK as the only political option for me. And I'm advising you, I'd join him if I was you as well. Let's give our movement a political home. Have a good day.
Tommy said something in that video, and this is the standout for me. He said, I am politically homeless. I am politically homeless. The reality is, it's actually past tense. He was politically homeless. He's not politically homeless anymore, because now he has a political home in Advance UK. And I have been involved with chatting to Ben Habib and people around Ben for a long time about Advance. And that's why I joined. Because when I saw what Ben was going to try and do and how open he was to every single British patriot, in fact, every single British person that wants to join the party can join, irrespective of what they're thought about by the great and the good. That's not what's motivating Ben. And for Tommy to come on board and endorse Advance UK is a massive compliment to Advance UK. One of the things that people don't realise about Tommy, he's very astute. He has deliberately not joined himself to any political party since UKIP because he hasn't seen one that fits the bill, that can do what needs to be done. And that's why he's joined Advance, because he knows that with Ben at the helm, it is actually possible to completely change this country. Could Advance UK win the next general election? Yes, they actually could. If we get the right amount of people joining, if we get the right publicity, if the continued unraveling of reform and reform being shown for what it is continues, there's a possibility. But everybody's got to get behind this project. And I know that sounds very cold and hard and ruthless. And as much as I have respect for the other political parties out there, UKIP, SDP, and others, really and truthfully, we all need to put our hands to the advance plough and get involved. I think it's so important. I think it's the only option that we've got in town. And in terms of what happens next, well, it's up to you. You can join, or you can just ignore this and think there's another way out. There is no other way out. The only way we're going to solve this politically is through Advance. And then I would imagine once Advance gets a massive head of steam, that I would say Restore may well come in. I would say UKIP, SDP may well say, guys, let's get on this train, because I think it's going to be unstoppable. And what will happen is there'll be mass defections from Reform, because Reform cannot change. And if they do change and they democratise and they come into the real world instead of the Westminster bubble and realise what people really want, which Tommy outlined in that video perfectly, then there is a chance of having that massive political earthquake. But Reform are the ones that need to change. Not Advance, not the people on the right. And remember, this is now a political home for that lot. Do you remember when Richard Tice said that? He called us that lot, that infamous speech. You see, Advance UK is everything that Reform said it was going to be and then turned out not to be. Advance UK is the real radical populist party in the United Kingdom. But it's also filled with great thinkers, people with great ideas, people with great business acumen and success. And it's filled with people like me as well. Just an ordinary Joe Bloggs, an ordinary 2x4, who hasn't got much to offer, but will give all my heart and soul to saving this country. And I believe politically Advance UK is the solution. Also with Advance UK, Ben Habib is the only leading political figure, in fact the only party leader in the UK that has publicly signed the pledge and supported the pledge right the way through from its inception. He was there at the launch and he thought very carefully about signing it. He read it meticulously, and actually he asked us to make one change to the pledge, and we were very loath to do that because we said once the text is sorted, the text is sorted. But it was a very sensible change, and I'm not going to go into what that was. So Ben Habib has supported the pledge. Ben Habib has never been an enemy of Tommy in the same way that Nigel Farage has. And the fact that Tommy's joined the party and is giving it his endorsement is a massive political earthquake. And if we get 100,000 people in Advance UK by Christmas, believe you me, that in itself is a political earthquake. And I believe that's possible. So again, I'm just going to echo the words of Tommy. He's joined Advance UK. I've joined Advance UK. Paul Thorpe, many others have joined Advance UK. Now it's your turn. Tenner, it's not going to break the bank. It's 2 coffees and a pint of milk, or 1.5 pints of beer. Join Advance UK. See you all soon.